Hello, peeps. It's the Hillbilly Halfwit. How are you today? And what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Plaid Cymry and how suddenly they seem to be saying, oh, we're going to take a place of reform in Wales. We're going to lead this country and get rid of that bad Labour. So let's see what they've been up to, eh? Let's see what they've been up to. So, please subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me out. Just click that button down there on the right. So what I asked is, since the start of the Welsh Senedd, how many times have Plaid Cymru worked with Labour? So I've been alive since the start of this, and I know personally, but it's nice for you all to see. Since the establishment of the Welsh Senedd, formerly National Assembly for Wales, in 1999, Plaid Cymru and Welsh Labour have collaborated formally on two notable occasions. 2007 to 2011, One Wales coalition government. Following the 2007 Senedd election, where Labour secured 26 seats and Plaid 15, the two parties formed a coalition government under the One Wales agreement. This coalition planted Plaid Cymru ministerial positions, including Iwan Wyn-Jones served as Deputy First Minister and Minister for the Economy and Transport. The agreement encompassed commitments such as in campaigning for a referendum to grant the Senedd full lawmaking powers, which culminated in a successful yes vote in 2011. Worst thing that's ever happened for Wales. 2021 to 2024. Well, you would think, by the way they're talking on TV at the moment, they haven't had nothing to do with what's going on, but they have been in the middle of it up to their neck. In November 2021, Welsh Labour and Plaid Cymru entered a 3-year cooperation agreement covering 46 policy areas, unlike a formal coalition. Plaid Cymru did not assume ministerial roles but appointed advisers to work alongside the Welsh Government. The agreement aimed to implement policies such as providing free school meals for all primary school children, establishing a national care service, and reforming council tax. However, in May 2024, Plaid Cymru withdrew from the agreement due to concerns over a $200,000 donation received by First Minister Vaughan Gething from a company whose owner had been convicted of environmental crimes. In summary, Plaid Cymru and Welsh Labour have formally worked together twice since the Senedd's interception, once in coalition government 2007 to 11, once through a cooperation agreement from 2021 to 2024. So then I go, because you see them on telly now blaming Labour for everything in Wales. They were key in deciding climate policy and agricultural policies and 20-mile-an-hour policies in Wales. Yes. Plaid Cymru played a key supporting role in shaping major Welsh Government policies during the 2021-24 cooperation agreement with Welsh Labour. While they weren't part of the government itself, the influence was significant in climate policy. Plaid Cymru backed measures on climate action, including commitments to decarbonise and clean energy projects. Their support helped push forward initiatives aligned with net zero targets, such as sustainable transport investment and nature restoration schemes. 2. Agricultural policy. They were closely involved in shaping the proposed sustainable farming scheme, which replaced the EU basic payment scheme. This included moving subsidies towards environmental goals, a shift that sparked backlash from farmers, especially in rural Wales. 3. 20-mile-an-hour speed limit policy. While the policy was led by Labour, Plaid Cymru supported the 20-mile-per-hour legislation as part of a broader road safety and active travel agenda. Their cooperation made it politically safer for Labour to push the measure through despite public resistance. Even though they pulled out the agreement in 24, Plaid Cymru's role in legitimising and enabling these policies during the 3 years of the coalition was crucial. Remember that. Anybody who's thinking of voting for these fuckers And remember, my dad voted for these people all his life. I would not vote for this lot now. Not a chance, because they are Labour in disguise. All the things that's destroying this country, they've been at the heart of. The climate policy, the new agricultural policy with the sustainable farming scheme and the 20-mile-an-hour limit. At the heart of it. Here's a visual timeline showing key policy developments during the Labour Plaid Cymru cooperation from 21 to 24, including their roles in the climate, farming and 20 mile. Let's click on that. There we are, look, there's the timeline. They're involved in it all. They were up to their neck in deciding these policies. 20 mile an hour, sustainable farming scheme and climate action. You can see there. They're trying to hide from this. If you vote for these people as a farmer, you want your fucking head examined. You want your fucking head examined. Now let's see how establishment these people are. This is no longer the party that my dad voted for. This is the party of the BBC. It's no longer the party of the people. So I go, the leader of Plaid was in the BBC, as are quite a few other people in the party. Can you find out who? Yes, several prominent Plaid Cymru figures have appeared on BBC programmes over the years, contributing to political discussions and representing the party's viewpoints. Rhyn ap Lorwerth, current leader of Plaid Cymru, has participated in various BBC programmes, notably appeared in the BBC's Panorama during the 24 general election coverage. There's more than that, you'll see now, where we discussed the party's stance on Welsh independence and other cases. Leanne Wood, former leader of Plaid Cymru, she's always on the BBC. Yrf ap Gwilym, economics and party advisor, long-standing member and economic advisor to Plaid Cymru, gained attention for his appearance. See, this isn't one I wanted to find, so I said, no, they worked for the BBC. I don't mean they've been on the BBC, I mean they worked for the BBC. Rhyn ap Lorwerth, current leader of Plaid Cymru. Before entering politics, Rhyn ap Lorwerth had a distinguished career at the BBC Cymru Wales. He joined the BBC in 1994, served as chief political correspondent from 2001 to 2006. He later represented programmes such as the politics show Wales, Dragon's Eye and Newyddion on S4C. In 2013, he left to stand for election in Ynys y Môn and became Plaid Cymru's leader in 23. So there you are. There's a guy that was doing all the talking on the BBC about politics, basically just supporting one side. They're supposed to be unbiased. Sian Gwenlan, MS for Arfon. Sian Gwenlan worked as journalist for both the BBC and HTV in Bangor before entering politics. She was elected as to the Senedd in 2016 and served as Plaid Cymru's deputy leader and lead designated member in 21-24 cooperation agreement with Welsh Labour. So another BBC one. She's basically working with Welsh Labour. Sioned Williams, MS for South Wales West. Sioned Williams began her career as a journalist for BBC News Wales. She later worked at Swansea University Academy Howell TV before being elected to the Senedd in 21. Williams has also served as Plaid Cymru's spokesman for social justice in the early years. Eric Wynne, former MEP. Eric Wynne was a journalist for the BBC before serving as Plaid Cymru member for the European Parliament from 1999 to 2004. He later stood as a parliamentary candidate for Ynys y Môn in 2005. So the BBC have held Ynys y Môn. So he was a candidate. And Rhyn ap Lorwerth. The BBC are actually in the middle of all this. This party's being run by the BBC. Glyn Wise, former candidate and broadcaster. Glyn Wise, known for his appearance on Big Brother, became a regular presenter on BBC Wales Cymru from 2006 to 2012. In 2015, he was announced as Plaid Cymru's candidate for Cardiff Central National Assembly for Wales election, but left the party in 2016 over disagreements regarding the EU. These individuals illustrate the close connections between Welsh media and politics, particularly within Plaid Cymru. If you're interested in more, so I go then. Seems like the BBC in Wales is biased. It's understandable why you'd raise these concerns about potential bias, especially when several figures within the political party, like Plaid Cymru, previously worked for the BBC in Wales. This overlap between media and politics can create a perception of partiality, especially when these individuals move into influential roles in policy making or public debate. However, from the BBC's standpoint, they're expected to follow strict impartiality rules, and former staff are allowed to pursue careers in politics like anyone else. But when multiple ex-BBC figures concentrate within one party, it does raise questions for many about how balanced the media landscape really is, especially in a devolved nation like Wales, where political and media circles are close-knit. So Plaid get an easy ride off the BBC in Wales, I say. There is a perception among viewers, particularly critics of Plaid Cymru or Welsh Labour, that the BBC in Wales give these parties an easier ride, especially compared to others, like the Conservatives or Reform. It's because they're working for the BBC. That's why. Former BBC staff joined in Plaid Cymru. As you've noticed, several Plaid politicians run up Laura, Sian Gwentlan and Sianed Williams, previously worked for BBC Wales. That naturally raises eyebrows and leads to claims of a revolving door between the broadcaster and the party. BBC Wales devolution focus. BBC Cymru Wales tends to cover Wales-specific policies like 20-mile-an-hour limits, farming reforms and climate policy, which often align with Plaid and Labour positions. Critics argue this coverage promotes the narrative of more devolution or independence, which benefits Plaid politically. 3. Lack of strong media counterbalance. Wales lacks a wide range of major national media outlets with limited critical press. The BBC becomes a dominant voice, and any hint of bias, intentional or not, has a strong impact. So it says that said, the BBC strongly denies political bias and operates under Ofcom rules, requiring impartiality. But here's what I realised. This was a good few years ago. Impartiality only really happens during the election. So every other time, they're partial. I said, so from what I understand, the BBC impartiality only happens during an election. And any other time, they ignore it. You're right to an extent. The BBC is legally bound to strict impartiality rules during elections, both under the Ofcom broadcasting code and its own editorial guidelines. This means equal airtime must be given to major parties, reporting must be balanced, especially in TV and radio. There are limits on commentary and speculations. Well, there can't be if they're all in the fucking Plaid Cymru party, can it? Outside of election periods, the BBC is still supposed to maintain impartiality, but the enforcement becomes much less clear-cut. At that point, editorial judgment plays a bigger role, which can lead to framing bias, covering a topic in a way that suspects certain narratives, portraying opposition to 20-meal limits as fringe. They're at that. Story selection bias, choosing to highlight or downplay certain political issues in Wales. They're at that. Familiarity bias relies on known contacts or ex-journalists now in political roles, like former BBC staff in Plaid Cymru. This doesn't mean the bias is intentional, but it can't shape public perception in a real way. We all know it's going on. Those of us who've been watching this for years know it. And this woman here was in and out of the sack more times than a potato, from what I understand, and she's in the middle of it all. Wales is full of bias regarding the BBC, and as you've seen here, I've shown it. So please comment, rate and subscribe. All the best, guys.